Hello, welcome back, Britainshiddenhistory with me, Ross. I've been up seeing Wilson and Blackett again. Fantastic trip. Alan's in great form. I'll be going towards on Sunday evening. And one of the things that give me lots of notes and stuff to start putting together more new books. And some of them are like little essays, which I thought I'd share with people. So this one is Why Set Out to Find King Arthur Anyway? So it's a series of points. So 1. Why should anyone in the late 20th century, or now the 21st century, actually set out to invest time, energy and money in a search for the enigmatic King Arthur? Why is it necessary? The answer is simple. For King Arthur stands astride Dark Age British history like a monstrous shadow, an accusing and immovable ghost. British Dark Age history, as it is written, taught and exhibited, is a national disgrace. It is a confusion of secular and religious political distortions and misrepresentations. It is a muddle of jingoistic racial emotions. It is selective to the point of imbecility, with some sources being allowed as evidence and other, older and more reliable sources being disallowed as inadmissible evidence. No one seeks the truth. Absurdity piles upon absurdity when we are informed that a nation in possession of its territories for some 3,700 years does not know or recall its past. Worse, we are informed frequently that a vague, mythical, legendary, mystic period occurred in the 6th century AD. Mythic and legendary periods lie in the remote past of ancient nations. Much is known of Britain from the earliest times, and certainly much is known of the first 5 centuries of the Christian era. So why is the 6th century a muddle? Why does history only reappear around 580 AD? When a crime has been committed, there are 2 possible outcomes. If the offender is a private individual or a lowly person, he will be dragged forth, his crime will be publicly proclaimed, and he will be execrated. If, however, the criminal is the state or the church or both, a different situation arises. For confidence must be maintained in these institutions of state, so the crime will be ignored, it will be apologised for, but it will remain no crime. Sounds familiar in recent times? This is precisely what has happened to British Dark Age history. No one will recognise the unmistakable and obvious crimes of both church and state. At Glastonbury, the tiny chapel founded by Edgar in 942 AD was the scene of a huge fraud with a huge and bogus discovery of King Arthur. A collection of cow's bones exhibited the 9 to 10 foot high giant king, a vast money spinner for mendacious monks. At Tintagel, a Norman fort of around 1150 AD, masqueraded as Arthur's birthplace, the equally fraudulent inventions of Cadbury Hill in Somerset as the legendary Camelot, known to be forged by John Leyland in 1536 AD. 1,000 years after Arthur, this disfigures and distorts the historical scenario. Serious historians balk at stating the clearly obvious and denouncing these clear fakes and frauds. Instead, they actually attempt to justify these criminal absurdities by building an untenable and incredible scenario which attempts to incorporate these ludicrous absurdities. Richard I of England was anxious to justify his claims to be rightful hereditary ruler of all Britain, so he had to eliminate the Welsh king Arthur ap Meirig. The church was anxious to eliminate the original Gnostic church in Wales and to establish universal Catholicism in all of Britain. And so the Glastonbury conspiracy was formed. No court of law in any civilised state would recognise any legitimacy, proof or reliable evidence for any of the ridiculous claims made for Glastonbury and Somerset, nor for Cadbury, nor Tintagel. Din Tagol is simply Welsh for double-banked hill fort. It is non-specific and in no way fits the Cornish site. So, from a political religious manoeuvre of 1191 AD, there has emerged a monstrous distortion and historical aberration. It is a national disgrace and an outrage that this is not exposed and put right. The ongoing conspiracy of continual cover-up and avoidance of the truth can be shown in great detail. The guilt of successive regimes and dynasties is clear. King Arthur was a major political pawn, and the history was a major political weapon. As such, it was rewritten, reshaped, disfigured, mutilated and deformed to suit political ends. No nation of earth has been so abused and mutilated its own native history with such base intent as the British. The tragedy is that scholars still fear the establishment, and they still lack objectivity in their writings, pandering to their own local jingoistic, nationalist and racist emotions. The English assault and abuse on Welsh history is an outrageous manner. One English author in 1983 wrote of a Welshman as possessed of, quotes, all the vindictive viciousness of his race, close quotes. If she said this of a black person or a Jew, there would be an outcry. The Welsh are also guilty and abuse both Welsh and English historical sources. The situation is lunatic. Tragedy piles upon tragedy, for instead of a lack of historical evidence, there is a superabundance. John Morris of London University made this point, that there is almost too much evidence available to manage the situation. The way is therefore clear. A Welshman, Alan Wilson, and an Englishman, Baron Blackett, combined. They swept aside and ignored the misdirections of Glastonbury, the absurd Cadbury Hill and Tintagel, and went back to square one. Study of the Arthurian problem was begun from a scratch position. Facts and evidence would be re-examined in detail, and objectivity would be the sole aim. In 1987, a Birmingham academic wrote of, quotes, treacherous Welsh manuscripts, close quotes. Such stupidity would be avoided. Only the truth would count. So there you go. And there's more like this. So remember to subscribe and share this to people. Let them know. And notifications, you get the next one. And more on the way, and new books and all sorts. And Sunday, 8 o'clock, the live show. Please remember, there'll be lots more on there. Till then, Heddwch.